Hello, everybody, and welcome. Wendy Byford here. It has been a very long time since I have done a live with you, and I'm really happy to be able to spend a few minutes going through some things. Um, Most of you know that my husband and I set up LLCs and corporations. We've been doing that for almost 20 years. We've done over 30,000 filings for over 20,000 clients over the years. And we also protect and empower businesses and individuals using the platforms of Legal Shield for legal services and ID Shield for identity theft protection. Now, what I wanted to do this afternoon was to talk about your 2024 business calendar. Now, if you've been with me for any number of years, you know that I really advocate setting up a business calendar every year. Why? Because it is so easy to forget many of the dates that we really need to remember. And these dates we kind of have rattling around in our minds. And then we look up one day and go, oh my goodness, I missed a filing. I missed this. I missed that. So what I want to do with you this afternoon is to go through just some of the things that need to go into your calendar. Now you can have an electronic calendar from Google or Outlook or whatever else you're using, or you might want to use a paper calendar. Whoops. I have one here that I have been using now for a couple of years. That's put out by the fellow who does Empire Builders, Brian Carruthers, and really love this calendar because it shows at the beginning of the month all of the days, and then it does 1 week at a time, and a reflection at the end of the month where you can put down notes and things. So really love the layout of that calendar, but choose whatever works for you. The important thing is to get something that allows you to look ahead of time and go, oh yeah, I've got a filing coming up. So now that you've decided what type of calendar you want, or if you like me, you use a paper calendar and electronic calendar, but then here are some things that you need to put in that calendar. First thing is go look at whether or not in your state you are required to file an annual report of some sort. It may be just an annual report. It may be an annual report plus fees, or an annual report plus personal property report, or whatever it is. You need to go and find out when that is due to be filed, and then put a date in your calendar a few weeks ahead of time. So if there's a hiccup, you have time to correct it. So, usually what I do is if I have something due by the end of April, then I'll make sure that I put it in my diary for the end of the month before the end of March so that I can get it done. And if there's a hiccup, I still have a month to correct it. You also want to look to see if you've got any city, county, or state licenses that need to be renewed as well, and get those dates into the calendar along with that annual report date. Now, make sure that you check your state for the current rules, because the thing is, rules change. Just recently, I think it was in Kansas, I think I posted this in Bisengage for Entrepreneurs, that it went from an annual filing to a biannual filing, and there were rules about when you had to do your filing. So you want to make sure that you always get whatever the latest is. You may have rules from a year ago, but just kind of go online and check. Make sure that you have the latest. The next thing that you want to put down is when are you going to see your CPA? Now, you may say, well, my CPA files my taxes, but I don't really talk to him during the year. You might want to put in just a placeholder for maybe 3 months ahead of time, just so you can go over with your CPA what's been going on and see if they have any suggestions for additional ways that you can save in taxes. They may tell you, hey, if you do this or that, you could save a few $1,000s, and you want to give yourself time to be able to do that. So you might want to put down a placeholder, for example, mid to end of September, so that you've got 3 months to do an implementation before the end of the year. You also want to make sure that you put in dates for any quarterly forms that you need to file. If you have an S and you're doing quarterly filings, then you want to make sure you put down the dates for those. Now, even if you have a bookkeeper who does that for you, or a CPA who does that for you, or somebody else, you always want to check to make sure that it got done. You want to put in there your vacations and holidays. Now, sometimes people say put in your vacations and holidays first, because what that does is it makes sure that you plan everything else around it. I think that's actually a good thing to do. I kind of put it in as I get a feel for the year. However, for this year, my dad is turning 100 in March. So that vacation is actually firmly in there. I'm not changing that. It has to go in there because I have to travel back to Canada for the party. We want to make sure that we celebrate this milestone, and I don't want anything to get in the way. So that's going in the calendar first. Other things that go in the calendar is, for example, if you are in a business where there is an annual sales meeting of some sort or a convention of some sort, you want to get that in the calendar as well, because those dates are usually published well in advance. You know them, get them in the calendar so you can plan everything else around them. And if there are any other things like that, that are kind of firm fixed dates, you want to make sure that you get in there, because sometimes what people do is they have a main event, but they also have quarterly events, or they have a half-year event that you want to get in there. Or if you happen to be in sales, for example, often there are trips and things that people are going for. So you want to get the dates of the trips into your calendar and plan around that, just in case you happen to win. Of course, and all of us, of course, are planning to win. So I don't want to say just in case. Obviously, you're going to do what your goals say you're going to do. So you want to get those on your calendar. You also want to make sure that if you had a change of RA, that you put in the calendar a date when you go back to the Secretary of State and file that change of address. If you have a change of RA, you want to file the change of RA. Any changes that you've made to your entities within the last few weeks, you want to make sure that anything that has to be reflected in the state documents is reflected, which means that you may have to do a filing. So you want to get that on the calendar, either to go check it at least or to actually do the filing. Other thing that you want to get on the calendar is your FinCEN filing. Now, your beneficial ownership filing is if you had an entity that was formed before January 1st, 2024, then you've got a year to do that filing. And it's easy to forget, right? Because, hey, I've got a whole year. And you might get down to December and have completely forgotten about it, right? So get it on your calendar when you're going to do your filing. I have 3 companies that I needed to file, and all of those were filed today, because right now I've got the time, and a little while from now I may not have the time. So it's in my calendar. It got done today. And now I know actually how to tell all of you what to do to go do your filings. So make sure that you put in your calendar your BOI filing for FinCEN, and make sure that you get that done. You also want to put in things that are monthly. For example, you might want to put on the last day of the month or the last Saturday morning of the month when you do your minutes and resolutions. Now, why do you want to do that? Because you're not going to remember at the end of the year everything that you did throughout the year. So in order to make sure that you have documented everything that's of legal, tax, and financial significance, you want to look back at the month. And maybe a Saturday morning when it's quiet, you get a cup of tea or coffee, sit down and spend an hour going through everything, getting all of that done, and it's done for the month and it's over with. Don't let it linger until the end of the year, because I promise you, you're going to forget things. If you have a notebook where you make your notes, then fine. You want to make sure that those notes are up to date, but just make sure that either you've got notes that are detailed enough to do your resolutions, or you actually create them once a month, get them done. Make sure that you keep a copy up in the cloud, because it's easy for things to go astray and then you've lost all of your minutes. Keep a copy in the cloud, and then also print a copy and put it in your company record book and sign it. Make sure that you send off any accounting to your bookkeeper. So if there's anything unusual that was done during the month or whatnot, you want to send notes and things off to your bookkeeper so that she can stay up to date and you're not scrambling at the end of the year to get things done. And if you have a mileage log that is electronic, so if you are keeping track of your mileage as you're driving, then you want to make sure that if you're using any kind of an electronic version of a log, that you print it out every month. The IRS gets really upset because it doesn't understand technology. and I'm sorry, guys, to be able to say this, but it doesn't. So you'll have IRS people saying, oh, everything was printed off with a date of December 31st, so you can't possibly have done this at the time that the mileage was actually, you actually did the miles, right? You did this at the end of the year, so it's not contemporaneous with when the actions occurred. Well, that isn't the case, of course, because you've been filling it out as you go along, but they don't know that. They can't tell that. So if you print it off every month, then they can see that, okay, so at the end of the month you printed it off, then yeah, it probably was done at the time that the miles were actually needed to be recorded, and it wasn't all done at one time at the end of the month. So it's just a little note. Some people in the IRS are brilliant, many are not. So to save you, if you're ever audited, from having the headache of arguing with them over technology, just print it off every month and put it somewhere. And then, of course, if you are claiming mileage, then make sure that you get in your record for the miles that were driven and the reasons, etc. And then you can claim the money from the company to go into your personal bank account. Okay, that's what I wanted to say about business calendar, to remind you that it is very important to get all of those dates in there. And then, of course, you can add in all of your appointments and whatnot, but lay your foundation right now. It's only the 3rd of January at this point, so you still have a little bit of time before things really ramp up. And this is a great time for you to get that foundation in place. That's it for today. Hope you had an absolutely wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year, and I will see you on the next live. Take care.